with the indictment of Raul Castro, the brother and cohort of the monster Fidel Castro. And this is the specific act of shooting down the brothers to the rescue in 1996. And this is a group of people that were innocent civilians. They were engaged in the humanitarian mission being helping to guide these boats that were leaving Cuba on a regular basis, and were trying to navigate the water between Cuba and the Keys, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, all the way up. And it was not uncommon that these boats would capsize, and the horror would occur of bodies on the shore of the beach in Fort Lauderdale. So these people, starting in about 91, were either former military or amateur pilots, and they took Cessna airplanes and would fly along with them, and therefore be able to alert if they were having difficulties. They never shot at anything. They never attacked anything. They were just Cessna airplanes, which are not. You'd have to use a shotgun or drop a bomb or something or other. And they had never done that. And for some reason, on this particular day, Raul Castro gave the order to shoot him down and kill him in international water. And they succeeded in killing four. One escaped. And they succeeded in getting away with it, much the same way they got away with killing Ashley Babbitt. But we don't forget. I don't. I remember it. I named a street in New York after them called Brothers to the Rescue. I did it right in front of the Cuban consulate to stick it up there. You know what? I have always been an opponent of communism from the day I first found out about it. And President Clinton did what President Clinton usually did. He kissed their ass. And so just like you did with bin Laden. After bin Laden committed acts of war against the United States, of course, then the ultimate took place, which may not have taken place had he not been a Chamberlain. But now we have a chance to see justice fulfilled. And the question is, how do we get Raul? And as I pointed out on the other show, if you were listening, it does seem to me the most likely option is an extrication, at which we are, of course, expert. And we are. We're as good at extrication as good can be. In a short while, we'll have Nick Sortor with us to talk about fraud, and then later on, Gordon Chang. So let's kind of get ourselves straightened out on Iran. The way it stands right now, the United States is waiting for final word from the negotiators, I guess, through the Pakistani government, as to whether or not they're going to drop their demands that make it impossible for us to reach any kind of an agreement. Their demands are that they be allowed to collect tolls for the Strait of Hormuz, that they would give up their plutonium, but they'll give it to Russia, which is like not giving it up. And they want to be able to have some limited use of plutonium for peaceful purposes. This has, of course, always been the problem, because under that guise, as the MEK discovered way back 20 plus years ago, they were enriching plutonium to the point where they were a few weeks, first a few months, and then a few weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. And now they have delivery systems and a lot more ability to do it, and relationships with countries like North Korea that are that are definitely and without any doubt very capable of helping them accelerate their nuclear program, which they would do. So it's time to see exactly, what happens and how it happens, and we'll touch on it toward the conclusion of the show also. But I believe there's a resumption of hostilities that will begin very, very shortly. And I think the tense conversation between the president and Netanyahu last night, if there was one, was more about not if, but when and how, and to what extent. And we'll see what comes of it. What I think is going to come of it is an attack over this weekend. It strangely happens to be the weekend that Donald Trump Jr. is remarrying. He's remarrying outside the United States in the Bahamas. Is it? The Bahamas. Yeah. So the president has announced he may not be able to go to his son's wedding, which is, of course, a shame. Now, why would the president not be able to go to his son's wedding? He loves his son. Please don't give me that garbage. Why? We'll let you think about that. We'll let you think about it for a while. Okay. We'll let you think. We'll let you think about why that's a problem. Okay. That he can't go to his son's wedding. He can't go to his son's wedding because he's going to have to be very, very close to the Situation Room. And that suggests to me that the decision is very close to doing this, and that the dispute, if there was one, was about scope and execution as opposed to whether it's going to happen or not. We are very, very confident that we've sort of done a pretty good job of putting woke behind us. But a rather discerning column by Matthew Continetti of the Wall Street Journal points out that it's true that it kind of sunk in with commercial interests that woke doesn't work and that it backfires on you, and they are withdrawing it, but it's more of a tactical withdrawal, and now it takes place in other areas. For example, New York and Seattle elected, and even Minneapolis, they elected woke mayors. Right. So they've now sort of institutionalized wokeism, right, which they're in favor of reparations for slavery, but not for the people who were tortured by the Biden and Trump administration and bankrupted and had their law practices taken away and their businesses taken away and put in jail, like Bannon, and put in the leg irons. Did you see Comey put in leg irons? Huh? No. I saw Bannon put in leg irons. Navarro. Okay.
Absurd.
And several of the people, like Jasmine Crockett and Governor Woke Spanberger, say DEI is just getting started. You can defund it and dismantle it all you want, but we're going to keep it going. So don't think that we have won this battle. It continues. Right. Wherever blue heads rear themselves. And of course, they have not taken their finger off God, who they have removed from the public square.
Right.
And what a disaster that has been as they destroy it over and over again the morality of this country. There were two horrible tragedies in the city of New York. Of course, two. There probably were a lot more, but two that I noted. One, it's just hard to have passed this story without stopping. A 7-year-old child was tortured to death in a Long Island house by women. She died, Ted, with 90 stab wounds. Little Deanne Duncan. You can get a picture of her, Ted. Deanne Duncan, it's in the Post. Was terrorized for a year out in Bayport, Long Island, which was a very nice community. Where 50-year-old Emily Kelly and her mother and daughter abused a girl consistently. So Emily Kelly is charged with second-degree murder. Her mother, Barbara Renner, who's 75, and her daughter, 24-year-old Elisa Seymour, are charged with prolonged child abuse. The district attorney, Ray Tierney, says this was not an alleged act of singular abuse. It was months of alleged systemic cruelty and sadistic abuse, meticulously documented. Joy Diane was placed in the Child Protective Services in December 2024. Didn't help. The autopsy revealed that she died as a result of massive untreated infection from sharp force injuries dating to at least January 2025. This should not happen anywhere in the United States of America. I am confident, my dear, that you are now an angel with God, ministering to the souls of those who need help. You look like a beautiful, beautiful young lady. And who knows what you could have been, or what you might have been. But God had a different plan for you. And who knows what you will be. We pray for the repose of her soul. And we pray that we're able to, at some point in our lifetime, and mine isn't going to be all that long, but I'm praying that it will be in mine, that we come to a better understanding of this. I understand a lot of crime. I can give you the hows and the whys and the whos and the it's and the, this I don't understand. I don't think you do either. So, dear God, we pray for guidance here. This is beyond us. The other tragedy was a woman who fell into a manhole in Manhattan.
Wow, I saw that.
She burned to death.
Oh, no. She burned to death.
I mean, there's all kinds of tar and
I was actually going to ask you, Mayor.
Doniki Gokaj, 56. She had what are called inhalation thermal injury and blunt force trauma to her torso. She stepped into an exposed manhole on Monday night outside a store near Fifth Avenue and
I know exactly where.
2nd Street. Of course, we both do, right?
Yep.
A beautiful part of Manhattan. One of the.
We spent.
We're talking heavy dollar real estate territory here. She stepped into an exposed manhole cover Monday night, and
oh my gosh, this is horrible.
Do you see that? You see the? You have some pictures of it.
Boiling hot water. The manhole cover steam. They're suggesting steam caused the manhole cover to blow.
So the theory is that that a truck dislodged the manhole cover for about 12 minutes until she actually walked into it. And within that 12 minutes, no one seemed to have noticed it to cover it over and put the safety things in place. Again, we pray for the repose of her soul.
We're gonna put up a picture here.
No way to die. Oh, look at that nice woman. Look at that nice woman. Look at that nice woman. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, Mayor. These are the stories that just really hurt to have to cover.
You know, this is a story. This is a story that I know it shouldn't. Maybe it should. It would have made me feel guilty as mayor. I am in no way blaming. There's so much to blame Mondani for. I'm not blaming him for this. Manhole covers and they're getting dislodged. It's just going to happen in a big city. But somehow I'd go over this and see, is there something we did or something we didn't? I mean, we would go crazy. Poor Howard Wilson would be going nuts trying to figure this out. Howard was my head of my investigatory force that did that. He was the commissioner of investigation, and a great one. A great one. We have to have Howard Wilson on.
Yes.
Howard Wilson is also one of the most brilliant people I know. Great lawyer, convicted Mario Biaggi. I mean, this is a real trial lawyer. Not everybody's a real trial lawyer. I am. So we're going to take a short break, but we're going to set up for a guest. And when we come back, we are rather certain we're going to have the wonderful Nick Sortor with us, who we've been with from the very beginning. We just admire Nick so much.
That's right.
We'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Did you add it? Well, you know, we have a wonderful new supporter that we support beyond economics. Economics are important. Look, we're, as they say in The Godfather, after all, we're not communists. And we believe in earning money, and we believe in supporting ourselves. And there's a way you can earn some extra money for yourself, and you can do good at the same time. You can earn some extra money for yourself, and you can sell what I love, as you can see, right? You know, look, I wear so much of this stuff, they criticize me. And they do. I had a thing on last year. It was an American flag thing. And they say you shouldn't have an American flag on a shirt.
Ah.
I haven't worn one since then, but I got to check that out because 4th of July is coming up, and all the celebrations for 2026 are coming up, and I have a large collection of rather bold gear. I used to play golf on July 4th, every July 4th, in a different American flag golf shirt, and it really helped me win. Well, Sticker Mule Pro. You can build an entire online business with Sticker
Mule.
Sticker Mule Pro. Dr. Maria is here. Dr. Maria, my boss, is here correcting me. She's doing Ted, you better be careful. She's doing one of her monthly surveys. It's only $9 a month, and it comes with everything you need to sell patriotic merch online. That's the way they like me to say it, patriotic merch. I always say merchandise. You get an e-commerce store. If you think you know how to put together an e-commerce store, you're better than I am. They boom, put it together for you. You get email marketing, and you can add to it, but they'll take care of you. You'll get all over the place. You get SF. Tell them what SMS marketing is, Ted.
Text messaging.
Yeah, so you get texts out.
SMS.
You want to get a flag? You want to get a real American-made flag? What do you want for Flag Day? What are we gonna do for Memorial Day this weekend coming up? Maybe we'll have some, Ted. Tomorrow night we're gonna have some suggestions of what they can get for Memorial Day. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
I love that.
And you get a customer service platform. And whatever else you need, they're gonna help you create a business. They've got two purposes in mind, both of them quintessentially American. They want to make you money, and they want to make you a proselytizer, a apostle for the greatest nation on earth. And our symbols that carry with us very, very much who and what we are. So sign up today at stickermule.com/pro. Stickermule.com/pro. Use code Rudy, RUDY. You'll get 3 months free. See how you do. You may hate it. And you may be one of those people that we read about all the time that turns out this guy became a millionaire from the sticker mill. Right?
Right. Well, be sure to use that promo code Rudy, RUDY, and you get the first 3 months free. Definitely check this out. There's a lot you can do. And as the mayor said, with the 4th of July coming up, all the patriotic merchandise they have, it is quite something. Well, Mayor, we now have our special guest. We're going to call him a special guest. Good friend of the show. We've been with him since East Palestine.
Nick and I feel like we go back to the beginning together, right, Nick?
The beginning of my career, at least. Like, hell, I grew up, idolizing you, Mr. Mayor. So I
Oh,
guess
Nick. Please tell him I haven't paid you for this.
no, nobody's paying me
Nick,
for this.
what great. May I just say one thing before we go into everything else? I am so proud of you.
I appreciate that. That means a lot coming from you in particular.
You are one of the reasons why there is a good chance we can get out of this.
I hope that is the case. But when you look at all of these,
I know.
And I'm trying to black pill your audience here, but I'm looking at this. We have John Thune that just decided, okay, you know what? We're just going to recess everybody, and we're going to all go home for, until next month without the Save America Act, without ICE and CBP funding. I mean, like, how are people like me, how are people like you supposed to be able to convince people to go out to the polls in November? Because they're like, okay, well, we have the majority now, and we're not doing anything with it,
Well, you know what we're doing, and the president did that the other night. We're replacing them.
Yeah.
If you notice, take a look at the last 2-3 years. Look at the people Trump put in, and look at the difference between them as people of principle, even more intelligent people, better educated people, better motivated people. We're starting to put a lot more allies for the few that really want to get things done. And it does take a while. And I think Trump is going to leave. We're going to see this 3 years from now. Trump is going to leave a legacy of Republicans that are like you and me and that are fighters. Look at the guy who replaced Massey, a SEAL. He knows why he's there. He's not there just to waste time. This guy didn't learn how to, put his life at risk for his country in order to come and bullshit in the Congress. So
the one that I really like is John Cornyn going away. Ken Paxton being endorsed.
You have no idea what a good friend. You have no idea what a good friend Ken Paxton is. During the 2020 election, probably one of my main allies, and a man who truly believed in the horrible, horrible idea that the 2020 election was fixed, for which even yesterday I was accused by the Times for being a liar. But Paxton has, remember, Paxton is the one who organized the 17 AGs. They went to the Supreme Court and they sued, I think, Pennsylvania. And they said, by cheating, you interfered with our right to select the president. Because we didn't cheat. And
he's
turned it down. No justification for turning that down. But in any event, he had the guts to do it.
And not a lot of people did, to be honest with you. You were one of those people that had the guts to call it out, and you knew what they were probably going to try to do to you. They were going to try to put you through the ringer, right? They were going to try to ruin your life, and so you put a lot on the line by doing that. And I just want to say as well, like, thank God, the prayers were answered, that you're back on air. I love it. Very happy to hear that. I was very excited when I got the news from Ted. One of the best guys in the business, Ted Goodman. Who you work with there?
Now I do.
There he is! Hey, cool.
I do owe $5
Nick,
for that.
Before we get into Minnesota, California, how you doing? How's everything going with the podcast? Tell us how you're doing. I know you're doing very well. I want you to explain to people how they get you and
look at the full setup he's got now. He's got a whole studio.
I know. I love him. I watch him. I was watching you in the hospital, Nick.
Yeah, well, so they basically, it's I unfortunately am spending more time here in Washington, D.C. than I want to, because we're not doing enough ICE stuff anymore, which is
good.
I'm giving them time. I know that they have to rebuild their because they just got actually not totally refunded, because you look today, President Trump gave them a deadline of July or June 1st to get ICE. The Senate Republicans, June 1st, to get ICE and CBP funded again, and they just decided that they were going to go home until next month. So, they've decided not to do that. Now, I don't know, Mr. Mayor, maybe you would know, but it almost seems like that maybe John Thune is vindictive over the fact that Trump endorsed Ken Paxton over John Cornyn, which Thune spent months and months and months lobbying to endorse Cornyn. Cornyn has been a never Trumper for 10 years now. And I was genuinely afraid that he was going to endorse Cornyn over Ken Paxton because, the amount of lobbyists, you have John Thune pouring $80 million into the race.
Right.
Ted was too. Now I know him for 39 years. What did I tell you from the beginning? He's going with Paxton. Paxton was the president knows, and these are personal conversations between him and I back in 2020. He knows what Paxton did for him. President doesn't forget that. He doesn't forget that.
And he put a lot on the line to endorse Paxton, right? He pissed a lot of people off, and people that, aren't one of us, I wouldn't say. Like, he didn't piss us off because, we know that Ken Paxton is a good guy. That is a guy that we need in the Senate. Yeah. There are very few people in the U.S. Senate willing to speak up, right? They all just fall in line. And that's why they spent $80 million to try to keep Paxton out, because of the fact that he won't fall in line, and he's not just going to do whatever the rhinos in the Senate say.
I have to do a major interview with you. I got to figure out how you got to be so smart.
No, it's not. I spend a lot of time on the internet, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. So now tell me. So the press conference today with RFK Jr., with the Justice Department officials, with Oz, about the fraud in Minnesota, which has now gone beyond and into autism and all kinds of things that are pathetic. Can you imagine cheating people with autism so you can steal money? I mean, you got to be some kind of in any event, tell me about that, because you were into that. And tell me how you feel, how prevalent that is.
Well, first of all, I want to give a big shout out to the DOJ for actually, and I believe, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I think you were the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York at one point. Is that correct? Okay.
Oh,
so
yeah, 5.5 years, my friend.
Yeah. So how slow the government typically works with all the bureaucracy in between, whatever, to actually bring these indictments. This was done. While it seems like it was pretty slow, if you think when Shirley released a video, it was the day after Christmas. I remember it very well because I'm very good friends with him. And so we were talking about him releasing it at the time and everything. So the day after Christmas, and now they've indicted well over a dozen of these fraudsters in, just several months. Like, typically it would take.
That was in Minnesota? We're talking about Minnesota now.
Yeah, in Minnesota. And then at that press conference today, obviously that's where they were.
How did he get started with that, Nick? What got him onto that?
So
that guy helped him a lot.
Yeah, David. David was actually.
David had a pair of balls. Wow.
Yeah, and it's very difficult because I was making a joke at the time, being like, bro, it's ballsy of you to go out there and with cameras outside of daycare centers, right? Like that's why they were able to get away with it for so long, is because people were afraid to be like, oh yeah, filming daycare centers seems like it's off limits. But he challenged that narrative and said, okay, I'm not filming daycare centers because they're not actually daycare centers. They're fraud centers.
Who knew that they weren't daycare centers? Him or the other guy?
Dave.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say, Nick is very good at sourcing stories in terms of he was able. So I believe the way that it worked was David went to him and said that, hey, look, I got this out there in Minnesota, and Nick took it and actually made the content, investigated it along with his mom. I got to give his mom a shout out too.
Who's mom?
Brooke Jones, Nick Shirley, his mom, is also a journalist, and so she was there right along with him.
Oh, what's her name?
Brooke Jones.
Brooke Jones. Okay.
Yep. And so she's great, and so I believe that she is a huge asset to him as well. They make a great team, but the fact that he was willing to dive into the story was something that clearly nobody else was doing.
And it's amazing that he pushed it through, because he's a young guy who they could have dismissed very, very easily.
They tried. Gavin Newsom tried very hard to dismiss him.
He got it really good. He got it so they couldn't. Nobody was there. I mean, and then they had that Leering Center, which helped a lot. Now, tell me what else is involved there, because today the Justice Department and Kennedy's group have expanded it to autism and all kinds of other things. Which the minute they reveal that, you got to understand that I go back to 1971. Investigating a Great Society program called the Model Cities Administration, I realized it was a fraud. Yeah. Poor people getting nothing, Democrats dividing up all the money, congressmen getting away rich. And it's probably the first thing that moved me away from being a Democrat. I said, this is a phony. Now, this has been going on exponentially. It just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. So how do you see it? How big is it? It can't just be the Somali community. Somalis are the country's crooked. They come here probably motivated that way, not like the other immigrants that we had coming here. But they're not the only ones. They're just a small group. This is much bigger than that.
It absolutely is. And I'm just going to be brutally honest with you on air. If the Somalis, who have, just statistically speaking, some of the lowest IQs in the world, are able to come in and steal hundreds of millions of dollars just brazenly with no regard to any sort of consequences, the only thing they know how to do is manipulate the system. And if they can do it, anybody can do it. However, it's them that's doing it because they don't have any connection to the United States. They don't care about our country, right? They're not building our country. They're just taking. And that's all they care about. But you go out to California, where you have in Los Angeles, where 1/3 of all hospice centers are based in Los Angeles alone.
What
1/3 all throughout the country. And that's not done by Somalis. It's done by Armenians. For the most part. So
1/3 of all. Say that again, Nick, so everybody gets it.
1/3 of all hospice centers, they call themselves hospice centers, are in Los Angeles. And I know a lot of people are dying out there because they're getting shot in the street and whatever it is and ODing, but they don't need 1/3 of the hospice centers throughout the United States. That counts every city, including New York City and everything. That's wild.
So they get money for this to service people, and nobody ever checks if they're really servicing people.
Nobody checks it. There's no reason for them to do that, because there is a reason, but in their mind, in the government's mind. What'd you say?
Of course, there's a reason. Of course.
Yeah, no, I'm saying in their mind, because they've never been and somebody like Gavin Newsom, nobody's ever called him out for it. So why would he bother, right? These are voters of his. So he doesn't want to put them in jail, because that means, how many less votes. So now he's got that fire lit and Gavin Newsom's in total damage control at this point, because what does he want to do? He wants to be president of the United States come 2028. And this is really killing his chances of doing so. But the fact that is why I'm saying there is no way that these governors didn't know about it, like Waltz and Newsom and such. But if they want to make the argument that they didn't know about it, then they're criminally stupid. and they should be in jail for that reason as well. I mean, like, there is
Nick.
no good out for them on this.
That is a great argument. I accept you as a lawyer. There's a great lawyer's argument.
I would get disbarred very quickly.
Great lawyer's argument, but I got to tell you the truth. Tampon Tim knew about it from day one, and the entirely, completely phony, non-existent human being Newsom knew it. I mean, this guy is like a complete. But in any event, Nick, keep it up, please. And don't lose enthusiasm or hope. We're getting, believe it or not, I know it's hard, but you got to listen to an old man, right? We're making progress.
Mm-hmm.
We're making a lot of progress. Yeah. We're way beyond where we used to be with guys like you. Way beyond. You think of your influence and the other people and the other people and the other people. You put it all together, we got at least 50% now, maybe more.
The young people, I will say, Mr. Mayor, the young people are in much, much better shape than they were, say, 10 years ago.
100%.
Yeah. And that's a huge thing. That is very, very big. They are not, and honestly, that's why I believe the left is becoming so violent at this point. That's why they had to take out Charlie Kirk, because he was one of the biggest reasons that the young folks were moving to our side. They were being woken up by. But
I have to say, Charlie, you've done a good job of picking it up.
But see, that's the thing. Is like there's no one person. It has to be all of us.
But that's okay. That's okay. Maybe it's even safer if they're 8 or 10 people.
They can't kill us all, hopefully.
And you're one of the key ones. God bless you, Nick.
That means a lot, Mr. Mayor. Take care. God bless you.
God bless you. So shall we take a short break before we get to Gordon?
Let's take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh, my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost. cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code Rudy. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back to America's Mail Live. And we have with us the preeminent expert on China, America, our relationships, the man who I think has the best insight. So we're very, very honored to have him on the show. Gordon, how are you? You've been very busy.
I'm fine, Mr. Mayor, and I'm honored to be on your show. So thank you.
So Gordon, can you tell us because it would mean so much to my audience, your sort of summary of where we are right now after the summit, after the meeting that Xi Jinping had with Putin. Some of the things have come out, not all. We don't really know everything that happened at that summit, but you probably have a much better insight into it than most. And how has it directed things? Where are things going?
Well, I think things are going in a very good direction. This summit between Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, which just ended, was fascinating because the narrative is that Xi Jinping is now the center of global diplomacy because everyone's going to him. President of the United States, President of the Russian Federation, all the rest of it. But I don't buy that one. And the reason is that China and Russia are really now two weak states. We've seen President Trump push the Chinese out of the Western Hemisphere. That's Panama, Venezuela, now Cuba. And Trump has pushed the Chinese out of the Middle East. And that's Syria. There's much less influential in the Gulf states and, of course, Iran. And the Chinese, they just carp and they complain as they did when Putin was in their capital. And they do that because that's about the only thing they can do. Now, they've backed Russia in Ukraine. We're seeing the Russians being pushed back by Ukrainians. This is a really good story. The Russians are losing territory.
Yeah, they are.
And the Russians can't stop the Ukrainian drones, which have hit the Russian energy infrastructure, plus Moscow. So at this point, Ukraine is winning. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be winning forever, but this point, and it looks like it's going to continue for quite some time, Russia is now retreating. So that's great. So you got both Putin and Xi Jinping in Beijing. They are, they just don't seem to be on the same page as they once were. And the most important thing is, yes, they had 40 agreements, but those were memoranda of understanding, not really important. What Putin can
do you buy the idea that Xi Jinping doesn't think that Putin made the right decision in going into Ukraine? So there was a leak that he said that to Trump. Then they denied it, not terribly powerfully, but they denied it. So we don't know for sure.
I don't know, Mr. Mayor, but I do think that Xi Jinping would be very happy if Putin were winning in Ukraine, and he's not very happy that the Ukrainians are now winning. So I think Xi Jinping, it's outcome determinative. And this is a war where China has backed Russia almost to the hilt. I mean, the only thing the Chinese have not provided are combat personnel. But, there are some Chinese military officers at the front in Ukraine. They're there as observers.
Right? There are Chinese military officers there?
There are. And also there are Chinese mercenaries who could not have gotten exit permits from China to go to fight in Ukraine unless the regime wanted them there. So the Chinese, I think, are dismayed that their no limits partnership is in jeopardy. And the one thing that was fascinating, Mr. Mayor, is that Putin came to Beijing for one thing, and that was to get the green light on what is known as the Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline. The Chinese stalled him. He went away empty-handed, and that shows that the partnership between Russia and China is not strong.
Explain that to everyone. He wanted a pipeline for oil.
Yeah, it's the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. It starts at the north coast of Siberia, runs through Mongolia, and ends up in northeast China. And it is almost as big as Nord Stream 1. Nord Stream 1 takes Russian energy and sends it into Europe. Because of the Ukraine war, the Europeans are buying much less of the Russian energy, which means Russia needs to sell more of it elsewhere, which is basically China. So Putin doesn't have the money to build Power of Siberia 2, POS2 as it's called. So he wants the Chinese to fund it, and Xi Jinping said no. Now, Xi Jinping, I think, is making a strategic mistake because he does need Power of Siberia 2 just as much as the Russians need it. But Xi Jinping is very arrogant these days, and I think he's making some pretty bad decisions.
Why would he do that? Why? It would almost seem a plus for both of them.
Yes, it's a win-win for both of them, and I think that they're arguing over price, but they both have compelling reasons to agree. Putin needs to sell to another customer, and Xi Jinping needs to buy. I think Xi Jinping believes that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is temporary. It's sort of like a fluke, and that eventually it'll be open, and so he'll get all the oil and gas that he needs through that critical waterway. I think he might be a little bit optimistic because there are so many problems right now in the world that if it's not the Strait of Hormuz that's a problem, it's going to be something else. Remember, he's not getting Venezuelan oil at a discount anymore, and he's certainly not getting energy out of the Gulf region at a discount from Iran. So yes, Xi Jinping can sort of get by without the Strait of Hormuz, but I think he's being overconfident about the future long term.
Yeah, I do think he's being overconfident about how somehow the flow of oil from Iran will remain the same.
Yeah. I mean, he might get Iranian oil in the future, but it's not going to be at the discount because the U.S. is going to have a big say in how Iran sells its energy, just as we now have a big say over Venezuela. Venezuela was supplying a lot of very cheap oil to China. That's no longer true. If they get Venezuelan oil in the future, they're going to be paying full cost for it. One other thing, Mr. Mayor. On Thursday, when President Trump was in Beijing, Xi Jinping went out of his way to insult the United States. He did that subtly, but it was clear what he was doing. He referred to the Thucydides trap, and he referred to something called the New Era. Now, the Thucydides trap refers to a declining hegemon who dangerously confronts a rising power, and that was Xi Jinping's narrative about the U.S. being dangerous. But the New Era reference, which was even more subtle, was actually even more insulting, and that is, in Xi Jinping speak, New Era refers to a period where China is dominant and maybe even ruling the world, and the U.S. is nowhere to be seen. Now, Xi Jinping can say those things, but that does not accord with reality, because if there is any between U.S. and China, if either of them is rising, it's the United States.
Yeah.
And we see China right now going through a period of distress. Things are not looking good. There are very few prospects for the future. And so I think Xi Jinping has gotten a little bit ahead of his skis.
Yeah, he's also not a classicist. The reality is that the dominant power won that war.
Yes, Sparta won the war against Athens.
Like problems created by China, which would have been Athens at the time, Sparta dominated and won the war. So I think you could pick a different analogy, but okay.
Yeah. And you know, you look at it, the United States is energy independent. We are food independent. China is not self-sufficient in either of those categories, which are absolutely critical. You know, Chinese weapons, we've seen both in Venezuela and Iran, They don't look like they're that good. They're certainly not good against an advanced military like ours. And Xi Jinping, he's complaining and carping a lot because that's the only thing he can do. There's one guy driving events in the world, and that happens to be the person whose address is 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. It's not the guy who lives in Zhongnanhai in Beijing.
Now, how do you view, before I let you go, how do you view the complete turnaround in the military? I mean, if I'm correct, he has removed almost his entire general staff. He doesn't have an army general or a high-level official who's ever engaged in warfare.
Right. The top of the People's Liberation Army, it's controlled by the Communist Party's Central Military Commission. There are now only 2 of 7 members who are currently serving. One is Xi Jinping himself, and the other is a general, but he's a political commissar. So there are no operational officers at the top of the Chinese military. Now, for China to invade the main island of Taiwan, they'll have to have a combined air-land sea operation, which means they need a lot of coordination among the various forces that China has. And that's not to say China doesn't have superb junior officers. And it's not to say that they have bad weapons.
Gordon.
They've got some weapons which are better than ours, Mr. Mayor.
But in terms of battle experience,
they've got virtually none because, for instance, on January 28th of this year, the Ministry of National Defense announced the removal of China's most senior uniformed officer, a guy named General Zhang Yaoshao, who did have battle experience in Vietnam in 1979 when Vietnam's third string army repelled China's first string army. China attacked Vietnam. So General Zhang has experience, but he's under investigation and he's out. And this means that China right now has a military that Xi Jinping has decimated. There are purges. Those purges are intensifying. This is like Stalinist Russia or Stalinist Soviet Union. It didn't work out well for them in the beginning of World War II when Germany attacked, because Stalin had taken out his entire officer corps, or not the entire officer corps, but the top of it. So China is right now in that position. And the United States military is superb, as we saw on January 3. It's been superb in Iran, and it is able to fight. So China just does not have a military that can confront the United States at this moment.
Is Xi Jinping aware of this?
That's a great question, Mr. Mayor. And I'd like to say that he is, because everybody else is, but he is extremely ideological. He is sort of a Maoist in, the 21st century.
It's hard to understand how much is reality and how much is ideology.
Right. And there's a lot of things that he should understand, which he doesn't. And you can look at, for instance, the economy, where he's making decisions which don't accord with common sense, taking China in the wrong direction. Country is stumbling. Xi Jinping is not changing course. And that says to me that he's an ideologue. So if he's an ideologue on the economy, he's probably an ideologue on other things as well, and he's not seeing clearly. And that's a really dangerous situation, of course.
Finally, what happens with Taiwan? Do we give him the 14 billion? Or do we do the deal for the 14
billion?
billion?
Arms sale you're referring to, which had almost been approved before President Trump went to Beijing.
Yeah, I worry about that a bit.
This is critical, because if President Trump doesn't authorize it, he'll be saying to the world that China basically writes U.S. policy. And that is unacceptable, of course. I think President Trump will go forward. Not only will it bolster deterrence, but it'll also give a lot of confidence in our allies, in us, like Japan. So we have a lot at stake, and I hope that President Trump authorizes that quickly. And by the way, Trump said he's going to talk to Lai Ching-te, who is the president of Taiwan. If he does that, he's also showing the Chinese, I'm not afraid of you. And that's a great message for us to give
Beijing. Step than people realize, right?
Excuse me?
It's a much bigger step than people realize.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. You're absolutely right about that. American president has not talked to a Taiwan president for something like 47 years. In other words, since we've broken off relations in 1979. So this would be monumental. It would enrage the Chinese, but the Chinese can't do anything about it. It's good that President Trump shows them, I'm not afraid of you. I'm going to do what I want. And you, China, you're going to just have to lump it.
Well, Gordon, we'll be back to you. There's no one who has a better fix on this than you do. And thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. It's God bless you.
Well, it's an honor for me to be on your show. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. This is what you're looking at there is the single best, most comprehensive overview of an extraordinarily complex country. Even if it wasn't a communist country, given the civilization and background of China, this is an enormously complex, and if we take communism out, beautiful country with beautiful people who have made great contributions to the world, interrupted by atheistic, homicidal communism. And delivering them from it would be, my goodness. But Gordon has probably the best insight. And this is important because China is a closed society. So all of us are speculating to some degree. We're trying to speculate based on facts, not our those of us who are not, silly, stupid liberals. Try to speculate based upon facts and reality, not our ideology. We know how to put it aside because we're intelligent. And therefore try to figure out what's really going on there. Because if you make a mistake, it's gonna cost you lives. He's got it really well. And there are a lot of things going on in China that are very, very positive if we react to them the right way. I do think the single most important decision that we can be looking for right now, if we want to focus on one thing, because it is so complicated, right, is this decision about selling arms to China, to Taiwan. It's 14 billion. It would be the last one was the biggest arms sale to China in history, bigger than anything any Democrat ever sold to them, 11 billion. And that drove China crazy. And Trump did that almost on day 1 or 2. Boom. 14 billion would be even more than 11. It would give Taiwan armaments that would make an invasion of Taiwan, even assuming we didn't help them, even assuming Japan didn't help them, or the Philippines or India or whatever, it would make a quick conquest of Taiwan questionable. And if Xi Jinping has sitting in his head what happened to Putin in Ukraine, this island of Taiwan is much better prepared to fight them off than Ukraine was. So there's a lot going on here. This $14 billion sale would, first of all, practically, it would give them the armaments they need, but they'd almost not need us, at least for 4 or 5 months in warding off the Chinese. Number two, symbolically, it would be a position of tremendous, unbelievable, assertive strength by the United States. So we're watching it closely and watching how it goes. And there is something Gordon said that you may not have focused on as being so important, but it was critical. The president is considering a conversation with the president of Taiwan. Now, we haven't had a president talking to a president of Taiwan, I don't know in how long. We'll have to go back and look. If he does that, the Chinese will go nuts, bonko crazy, because the present leader of Taiwan is very, very anti-Chinese. So let's see. There's a lot to watch here. They're all. I'm going to say they appear to be little steps, but these are all big steps if you understand foreign policy and you understand how to follow it. They're going to set the course for it. So, and it's going to happen within the next 60 to 90 days. So we'll keep focused on it, and and it'll tell you it'll tell you very, very much the direction of what's going to happen here. So you stay on top of it, okay? With us. A couple of last points that are really important. You know, the whole concept of U.S. defense spending, which always had to do with huge and massive amounts of money. You know, Second World War, we spent more than anyone else, and whatever. And it still does involve huge, vast amount of money, and the 1.5 trillion the president is asking for is really necessary. But in many, many cases, as we drill down to specific situations, it's a question really not about more spending, but about competition. And it's a question of how can you maximize inexpensive responses to enormously expensive attacks? Because this is exactly what the Ukrainians did against the Russians. And to some extent, it's a little bit of what the Iranians have done to us and to the Israelis. Not really to much effect because we've destroyed them so much. But we're using like a $4 million missile to knock out a $30,000 drone. I mean, the reality is there is now available a $10,000 drone to knock out a $30,000 drone, and you make money on it. And this happened because the Ukrainians did something we should copy. The Ukrainians, because they knew they had to develop huge amounts of drones, went out to every, not just the defense manufacturers, but people who were manufacturing other things. You know, manufacturing air conditioners and manufacturing steam engines and manufacturing. And they said, I need you. This is a wartime economy. I need you to manufacture drones. I need you. Here's the plant, manufacture drones. Here's the plant, manufacture drones. Here's the plant, manufacture drones. So they went from like 4,000 drones the first year to 40,000 drones the second year and 80,000 drones this year. They got enough this year, so they're selling them to Israel. They're selling them to the UAE. They're selling them to us. So this suggests that we should be doing the same thing, and we are. Pete Hegseth brought in a couple of weeks ago lots of non-defense industry types that should get involved in developing defense industry products on massive scale because they're not that complex and they can be enormously helpful. This is what we did in the Second World War better than any nation on earth. This is what we can do because, look, if Iran can do, if Ukraine can do it with a small economy they have, with the economy that we have, if we're behind on drones, we can catch up, in 6 months. It's what the president is doing on a much more complicated basis with the most complicated chips, with the rare earth, all these areas where China has had an edge and if not a monopoly. It's part of the reason why the president keeps up this dance with Xi Jinping, because we need to, much as possible, we need to keep taking it in. But please understand, over here, we're developing our own whole industry. There will be a day when we surpass them. It'll be, for me, like remembering how we surpassed them on Sputnik. They don't have the industry we have. They don't have the drive that we have because they don't have the profit motive. They have a command economy. We have a participatory economy. There's no comparison between the two, particularly when you're at war. So the article in the Wall Street Journal today, which you should take advantage of just to get an idea of this, is what U.S. defense needs now is, well, they say they need more competition, not more money. Honestly, they need both. They need more. They need more money because we have to catch up to their Navy, but they need more competition because we have to catch up to their inexpensive weapons that are making it cost ineffective for us to be using our much more effective weapons against them. And if they can do it, we get about 6 months into this and we'll just wipe them out. Goodbye. No more. You've had it.
Right.
So, Ted,
Mayor?
I have one last thing to cover. The New York Knicks.
The Knickerbockers.
They're playing tonight. They're playing right now. The New York Knickerbockers won a game 2 nights ago that is a game for history. I mean, did they come back and Galen Brunson proved to be one of the greatest clutch players in basketball? And we're what, about halftime? Well, the Knicks were behind by 23 points. When Ted walked out of here, Ted was sure they were going to lose. Rudy wasn't.
Well, to be fair, it was more just, when your team loses.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a
Tell me the rest, Ted. All the other excuses. And then they turned the game over to Captain Clutch. Who's Captain Clutch, Ted?
Brunson, who I believe is,
Brunson took over. Brunson
grad.
took over.
Him and the Pope.
And everything went in. Everything. Boom, boom, from the outside, from the inside. Stole the ball. And then the rest of the team started to respond with a 3-point plays. I think they went 43-11 in a stretch. They turned a 23-point game around to a tie at the end of the game. And then the overtime, they just the other guys just gave up. It's like, we can't play with them. So they're playing another game at the Garden, right?
Right now.
And the Knicks are winning.
Knicks are winning. You probably remember this from the 90s.
We are the New York Knicks. We are the New York Knicks. The 90s? Oh, there's Patrick Ewing.
Your mayor. You're famous. Even I know about this. I know a group in Michigan.
We're back on track on the floor, scoring Morris 94, and the Knicks are hardcore. And I'll tell you like this, we ain't never looked sharper. With Hubert, Bonner, Gray, and Harper, it's the Knicks, and we're back on pace. Everyone's gearing up for the championship race, and the fans are going crazy, and they're doing it for a reason. Because 94 is the Knickerbocker season. You better believe the Knicks got all that it takes. We're shooting 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Of course I was mayor. We went to the championship against the Rockets.
Oh, that's when the song.
We won the Stanley Cup that year.
Well, this song would have been more of a classic had they won that, right?
Yeah.
But the 85 Bears. Were you ever front row for Knicks games?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to come back to you now.
That was my team when I was the mayor in the 1990s.
Yeah.
My real team is in the 60s and 70s. Clyde Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, Bill Bradley. That's my real team. Cassie, Russell, and of course Reed, the incomparable center power forward, who was the heart of the team. And they were a fabulous team. They won 2 world championships. They beat the Los Angeles Lakers both times against Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West. And I believe the starting 5 are all Hall of Famers.
Oh wow.
Bradley DeBuscher, the two forwards. Reed, the center for sure. One of the 5 or 6 greatest centers in the history of football. Clyde Frazier, the best defensive backcourt man in basketball, and a great quarterback, team quarterback. And then in the first iteration, Barnett, who was a shooting machine, he used to have a weird shot. He would shake like this. And then, of course, the incomparable, maybe one of the greatest shooters, natural shooters ever, Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Earl the Pearl.
Mm-hmm. Now that was a team. And they played like a team. And sometime I will go over some of the lessons from that, because I use it in my book Leadership to explain how you bring a group together. Because the Knicks brought Monroe over to be a teammate with his biggest rival in the league, Walt Frazier. And the idea was this was a disaster. And the two of them went on and won a championship together. They both made each other better at the other thing they did. Frazier was the greatest defensive player in the backcourt. Monroe was the greatest shooter. Monroe couldn't play defense to save himself. Monroe became a good defensive player. And Frazier, of course, when he had to take over, was a great offensive player. So let's see. Brunson is quite something, but so is Towns. I mean, they've got backup talent. I mean, it's and they've got very good coaching. And let's just see. We'll see. I mean, they certainly are quite legitimate, and they've got the ability to come from behind from anywhere. How far were they down in this game? 18 points?
Game one.
In the fourth quarter?
Let me check, but I believe so. Game one, largest.
I hope you like sports. If you don't like
22
sports,
points at one point.
22 points. If you don't like sports, you should. It'll help you. It'll save your psychiatrist bills, all kinds of things.
Let out some of that
aggression.
Yeah, let out some of that steam towards your football team, right? Or get passionate about something.
First thing I do now, again, is I go look at the score, see what the Yankees did. They lost yesterday, but not very good.
Uh-oh.
They're 3 games out, 4 games out. It's ridiculous.
Well, they're down 2 to Toronto right now at Yankee Stadium. Sorry. Let's focus on the Knicks tonight.
Okay, I'm getting off now.
Yeah,
I'm in a state of depression. I have to get off. The Yankees are behind. Well, come back tomorrow. We really got to watch as we go into the weekend. What's going on here? Given all the signals the president has given, right? He's given a lot of signals that this may be the weekend. And maybe it's about time we get rid of these guys. Okay. And we save some lives because they're executing people all the time. As we speak, they're probably hanging somebody. So pray for the people of Iran. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for us. And pray for our president, who has to make these very difficult decisions. He needs your guidance. He knows that. But we still pray for you to give it to him. And pray for all of us, so we all have your guidance. Because we thank you for what you've given us. And we want to be able to respond in the way you want us to. So let's all say it like a prayer as we conclude for tonight. We ask you to come back at 7 tomorrow on Lindell and 8 on X. You're a wonderful group of people. We love you. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense. written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's